a choice of lights to look at this time. As we wait for the start here in Taruma. I believe that's how you pronounce it. That's not how you pronounce it, is it? Not at all. But as the 20 cars, and all, you can literally count the CC in this field on one hand. But, yeah, this is the new Camaro Australian racing cars. Recently added in the update yesterday. It's been in the beta for about a week. And we're going around the outside because this is the first lap and this is the time for these shenanigans.
Still there. Clear.
Pretty conservative there, just trying to hold on for dear life. And off we go. And so far survived. And we whack it off the limiter for good measure. Just to make sure that those who know anything about Camaros would realise that this is not what a Camaro should sound like. Because these are not really Camaros. Actually, these are barely even cars. Essentially, these are space frame chassis with some fiberglass bodies and motorbike engines to power them. So you can get a cheap and simple racing car. Provide some interesting racing. Quite fun racing, as you can imagine. And the AI are quite feisty. Robin's racing and all that. I don't think that's really an AI complaint, that's sort of just realistically how I imagine these things will be raced. You know, fiberglass bodies, it's not going to really get bent or broken. Chassis are strong as rocks, you'd hope. So, bash 'em. Go nuts.
On your right side, still there. Clear right.
Get a bit of a bump.
Car left. Clear left. Clear.
Gives us a bump, we'll take an opportunity like that. If he wants to play it like that. This is just the aggression on medium. I want to see what they do on high aggression. We'll go full NASCAR. So if you haven't heard of these cars before and wondering what the hell are these things, it's similar to Legends cars in America, or maybe similar to National Hot Rods or stock cars in the UK, in Ireland. Is that you have a standard chassis, standard tube frame chassis, as I mentioned, with a 1.2 motorbike engine, producing 107 horsepower. Oh yes, all the power, and yeah, and so stock chassis, stock mechanical components, and you just slap a fiberglass body based on a production car. Obviously, this is a much shorter wheelbase than the production cars these are based on, so you end up with these mini versions of cars. And they don't just do the Camaro, which is, you know, Automoilista, and real life they do Fords, they do Holdens, as you expect, and all sorts of things. Essentially, any production car available still in Australia has probably been made into one of these cars. Essentially, for when you can't afford to get a proper GT car, you get one of these and put a GT car body on it. So you can pretend that you can afford a Camaro GT or Holden or Ford or something like that. So they end up with quite cute cars, you know. Where essentially the driver's seat in these is behind in the back seats. If Camaros have back seats, I'm not sure if they do. Weird things. I'm actually surprised they even have windscreens, which I presume is just some Perspex sheet. Obviously, keep it lightweight. They weigh next to nothing, about 500 kilos. Lighter than an F1 car. There you go. Not that that's much of an achievement nowadays. I can nearly buy a fucking car that's lighter than an F1 car. That car would have to be about 20 years old, but it's a different story. It's interesting little cars. Due to the quite short wheelbase. They drive a bit funny. They're quite sensitive. You have to actually drive these things quite carefully. You know, you think you could rag them around, be aggressive. But no, you actually have to be quite careful with them. Keep them happy, because when they want to go, they're gone. And knowing these things, they probably want to go. They also have a hell of a lot of roll angle in them, as you have noticed, for a race car anyway. You know, they really are a mix between something you expect on a short oval and a touring car, which I think is what they're going for. Australian touring cars have always been a bit weird and a bit insane. It's sort of insane in a tame way you can go insane. You know? Low powered cars, not very fast, yet there's something about them that's a bit brutal. Maybe it's like the fact that this thing revs to nearly 11,000. It's like all the revs which you need in this tiny engine to get any sort of power out of it. So yeah, nice little fun car to drive around. And it's a very welcome addition. These are free. I believe also released with this patch simultaneously was the Adelaide Track DLC. That is DLC, and you gotta pay for that with money. But these are free. I think they were originally planned to be DLC, which is why they're officially licensed. And considering they're officially licensed, you know, these are legit. It's not pretending to be a Camaro, otherwise I would imagine they would, if they're going to go down that route that they do for most series in Automoilista, they would have put in a bit more bodies, which in one hand would have been nice. It would be nice to have more variety in the field rather than just one. More reflective of the real life series for these cars, where there is a variety of the shapes of the cars. But the fact that they get, you know, legit Camaros is nice as well. Makes it a bit more authentic. It's always, you know, it's always nice to have officially licensed cars that are not pretending to be anything where they can do it properly. Well, I don't imagine that Riza want to get into another mess that they got into about this time last year, when they got taken off the Steam store for a copyright dispute, because they got too good at making the knockoffs, and people started to get mad. I still don't know how to get away with the V8 supercar they have, which is a legit copy of the Holden. They're not even pretending that's anything but a Holden. You know, they even put the fucking Holden badges on it. It's not even unbadged. It's just, it's a Holden, and they don't care. But this is legit, and this shouldn't get anyone in trouble. What I'll be actually quite interested is to see if any modders sort of take up building other bodies for these cars, which would be nice. You know, add some variety. Should be fairly straightforward. All you have to do is model the body and literally use the exact same physics interior as the rest, and there'll be no issues with that, because they all drive exactly the same and all have the same internals. So it's just a case of changing the model of the body. But you know, that's easy. Anyone can do that, right? There's no skill to being a 3D modeler at all. If only I knew how to use Blender, I might actually give it a go. You know, I'll probably actually just build a short oval to race these things around instead. Because these are the cars you'd expect to find in a short oval, aren't they? Not in this setup. You do some crazy asymmetrical setup to them. Have them go up on 3 wheels and corners. That'd be great. That's the thing we are missing though in Automoilista. Of quality mods. And between quality mods and stock content, we only have 2 ovals. We have Fontana and Jarapanga. Which, yeah, to call the oval layout there an oval is a bit of a stretch. It's an oddity. It's nowhere near a typical oval at all. Which makes it interesting, makes it cool that's in the game, but you know, we're lacking on the oval content. We're lacking on oval content in most sims, to be fair. You know, it's really iRacing and NASCAR 2003, which are arguably the same game. That's a different story. Yeah, that'd be a thing. This race hasn't been as close as I expected it to be, actually. We had some action at the start, some good action. But it's sort of calmed down as we've pulled away from the group ahead there, fighting amongst themselves, and we've fallen behind the group in front because we're too busy fighting the group behind. Well, we can live with that. If any of you haven't seen the track before, this is Camaro. Taruma. I have no idea how you pronounce this place or most of the Brazilian track names. My Portuguese isn't strong. It's about as strong as my French, which is actually not even as strong as French. It's not strong at all. I have no idea how you pronounce this place, but it's actually one of my favorite tracks in Automoilista, and goes well with these cars. In fact, these cars go well with a lot of the tracks because a lot of the Brazilian tracks in Automoilista remind me of sort of thing you'd find in the V8 Supercar schedule, which I take it as a representative of what Australian tracks would generally look like, and therefore these suit these cars, which very much makes them a welcome addition. And it's definitely a strong point of Automoilista is how they've covered nearly everything, and yet done it uniquely. It's not cliched. Yet they've covered their bases on nearly everything. You know, the track selection by default, you know, you don't end up running Formula 4s on Grade 1 circuits because you got plenty of national circuits, but yet you have the Grade 1 circuits for the F1 cars. The fact that you have all the F1 cars, like, legitimately all the F1 cars, the only thing they're missing are the fucking cars from the 50s. You know, from 1967 to the present day, they're not missing a lot. They're only missing. What are they missing? They're missing mid 2000s when the air rules went crazy, and late or early 80s. You know, with the crazy ground effect cars. That's what they're missing. They're missing ground effects and the crazy era. They've covered practically every other era of F1. From 1968 onwards. So they got that covered. You got any sort of low-level national club and racing category you could think of. The Formula V, Formula Ford, Caterhams, a lot of British track days, added the Brit pack, but go default. They have any Brazilian series you could think of, such as they got the trucks, they got the Brazilian stock cars, they got the Brazilian Formula 3, they have Brazilian touring cars, they have Aussie V8s, they have these things to support the Aussie V8s, they have a prototype, a Brazilian prototype, they have a British prototype that races well against the other prototype as a secondary class of it. They have the Porsche Cup, because every country in the world is legally obliged to have a Porsche Cup. This is probably the last lap of the time as well. So essentially, it's got everything. And this is just further proves that, despite having everything already, they're still finding things to add, such as this little gem. Like, what else has this thing? Where else are you going to drive motorbike-powered little Legends cars, dressed up as muscle cars, around dinky clubman circuits in Brazil? What other circuit lets you do that? Not other circuit, what other game? There's nothing else. Also, you wonder from a practical side, the lights actually do work in these cars. I don't know if they work in the real series. I'm Imagine the brake lights working real serious as they tend to do. Brake lights are a common thing in race cars. Headlights are not. So, yeah, headlights work if you're interested in making this into an endurance car. If you're crazy enough to do it. They don't have big fuel tanks, so you would be crazy to try race this in an endurance race. You'd be like pitting every half an hour. No joke, you're pitting every half an hour. At most. But we'll take the finish here. No idea where we finished. That wasn't really the point of this exercise. The point of this exercise was to just drive these little cars around. Also, that lying bastard of a spotter told me we had 1 lap to go, and that should have been the checkered. That's why you don't celebrate until you see a checkered flag, because we have a car on top of us now. And I really shouldn't take that curb. I thought I would have learned my lesson 2 laps ago when I nearly spun the car there. As I said, these cars not quite stable. They're not the worst things in the world. Frankly, they don't have enough power to kill themselves, and they've enough tire to survive. I don't believe the rear wings do much for downforce. They're kind of just there to stop them from flying. Not that it gets enough speed to fly, so they're really there for show. Also, these got spools, because all Australian race cars must have spool differentials. Because, you know, that's how you roll. So, it can kind of kill you on power, but it doesn't have enough power to kill you. But that's all you gotta worry about with the driving. If you just keep it smooth, be sensible, you'll get a few laps in and you'll get used to it. But yeah, that was a short 15-minute race here in the ARC Camaros, just added in the latest update to Automoilista. They also added other things in the update. I'll probably link, put a link in the description to the change log of what they do. There's still a few interesting things, mainly fixes and a little bit of content such as these. But of course, the best feature in this car is the fact it's one of the few cars in Automoilista that has a horn. Isn't that the fucking cutest thing you've ever heard in your life? A dinky little horn for a dinky little car. And more or less sums this thing up. It doesn't diff. Well, I can't make it diff. You're in the ball. I should get up and kill myself. So, that's the ARC Camaro was just added to Automoilista. Give 'em a go, fire up a Brazilian track you've never heard of, set a 15-minute lap race, and go nuts. And have fun. Guaranteed.